Wisconsin Eye's 2014 election coverage is brought to you by the Wisconsin Hospital Association. For over 90 years, a valued voice for Wisconsin hospitals, supporting high-quality, high-value care in communities like yours.
Wisconsin Eye is at the Milwaukee Public Library. We're interviewing candidates in the 2014 elections. We're interviewing Republican Dan Sebring of Milwaukee. He's a candidate in the 4th Congressional District. Dan, welcome back to Wisconsin Eye. You're no stranger to Wisconsin Eye.
No, I'm not. I'm glad to be here once again.
Let me, just one note, Wisconsin Eye appreciates the support of the Wisconsin Hospital Association, which represents more than 139 hospitals and health systems, for making these candidate interviews possible. Dan, I'm curious about something you say before we get into issues on your website. You say, and I'm quoting here, "I have a better chance of beating Gwen Moore than in the past." Explain, because this is 1 write-in and 3 formal ballot challenges?
Yes, and what we're seeing from, particularly from the central city, is a lot of discontent with incumbents in general, not just Gwen Moore, but incumbents in general. And the general feel that we have is that, you know, the iron is hot. Okay. And this is going to be a very good year for us. Well,
go back and give us the short bio. I know you're a small business person. Tell us about that.
Well, I own an auto repair business here in Milwaukee. I've been in business for just under 21 years. I've lived in the district for a little over 27 years. I currently serve as first vice chairman of the Republican Party of Milwaukee County South Branch. And I've been an officer in the Republican Party of Milwaukee County for the last 5 years or so. I'm a United States Navy veteran. I served on the Chief of Naval Operations Intelligence Staff at the Pentagon during the Reagan administration. And as a veteran, I'm also a cancer survivor and patient at the Zablocki VA Medical Center. I owe the Zablocki VA Medical Center my life. And when I heard what's going on in other parts of the country with the VA, I was shocked. You can just imagine. I got tremendous care there, and I'm just appalled at what's going on around the country. And finally, like you mentioned earlier, in the last midterm election, I got 30% of the vote, and that's better than anyone's ever done against Gwen Moore as an incumbent in any election for any office she's ever held.
Well, let's go back to the VA. Have you or other veterans you've talked to ever felt that you've had to wait too long for care, Dan?
I haven't, and I haven't really talked to anybody who has. Just a quick story on what happened with me. In 2006, I walked into the VA hospital, having never been there before, seeking medical attention. And within 5 hours, I was diagnosed, I was admitted to the hospital, and I was scheduled for surgery. I lost my right kidney to cancer about 2 days after my first appearance at the VA Medical Center. I had surgery, and it was taken care of like lightning as far as I'm concerned, and I got the greatest care in the world, as good as any hospital I've ever been in. And I'm just shocked at especially what's going on in Phoenix and other parts of the country.
If you're a member of Congress, how would you fix it? You have veterans, there are reports some of them died when they couldn't get care. As a member of Congress, how would you fix it?
Well, I'm not really sure, to be perfectly honest, but it's certainly something that we have to look at, and perhaps we can use the Zablocki VA Medical Center as a model. As I understand it, that it's the other VA hospitals around the country are their own little cultures unto themselves. And that needs to stop. You know, so perhaps we can use the Zablocki VA Medical Center as a model for the rest of the country, because I have zero problems with what's going on here in our area.
You've been running in the 4th Congressional District for a few times. How has it changed? What are the differences from when you first ran as a write-in candidate?
Well, it's been a tremendous learning curve for me. It's never going to be easy for anyone to run for public office, particularly for a Republican in such a heavily Democratic district. But we've learned how to reach out to the public and get our message out there and let them know that there is a choice and that perhaps they're not being served as well as they could be or should be. So it's just a matter of finding what works and going after it and repeating that process.
Who's to blame when a 10 or 11-year-old girl playing outside Clark Elementary is shot in a crossfire? Who's to blame for that, Dan? Urban violence, inner city?
Well, urban violence, inner city, it's all created by criminals. It's the criminal element that is perpetrating these things, and a child gets caught in a crossfire. It's not the legal gun owner, the law-abiding citizen, who is to blame for something like that. There is currently a gun grab going on because of this shooting, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. Something like that should never happen. But unfortunately it does, and taking guns out of the hands of law-abiding citizens is not going to keep the criminals at bay. It's not going to stop this from happening. So there are better.
Okay. Let's talk about specific issues. Both Medicare and Social Security are on track to go bankrupt, although it's many years out. How would you fix those, sir?
Well, the first thing that we need to do is get more people paying into the system. Now, it's underfunded because there are so many people who are out of work. There is something in the neighborhood of 46% of the eligible workforce that isn't working, and a majority of them aren't even trying to find work anymore. They've pretty much given up on that. So before we can go about mending what is wrong with the system, we need to get more people paying into the system so that the system can stay afloat until we can find out the proper fix for what's going on.
Okay. The Affordable Care Act. I think you mentioned it on your website, but tell me, what about that? You've heard the President say 7 or 8 million people have health care who don't because of the Affordable Care Act. How do you feel about it?
I think that the Affordable Care Act is an abysmal failure. From the rollout, which was just the most awful rollout of anything I've ever seen, to the costs are increasing. The last time I checked, over 6 million people had lost their insurance because of Obamacare. And after the midterm elections, that's supposed to go up. There are requirements in Obamacare that have been put off till after the election so that the effects won't be felt by people until after the election. So Obamacare needs to be repealed in its entirety and replaced.
What about those provisions that say there's no cap on benefits, children can stay on their parents' plan till age 26, and no pre-existing conditions? Aren't those good things that should be kept?
Those are good things, and actually I support the Republican Study Committee's American Health Care Reform Act, and those particular parts of Obamacare are included in that Health Care Reform Act. So people with pre-existing conditions would still be covered. People with children up to the age of 26 would still be covered. So there are a couple of good things that are in Obamacare that the insurance industry has already agreed to, and that will be part of anything coming down the road to replace Obamacare. But Obamacare is too broken. It can't be fixed. We need to start over.
What about the argument that veterans like you have universal health care, people over 65 have universal health care, so why not go to a universal system for everyone since so many residents already have it?
Well, I would hate to think that what is going on with the VA medical system nationwide right now would be an example of what we can look forward to with Obamacare, with universal health care nationwide. If what's going on with the VA medical center right now, in Phoenix and other parts of the country, I don't understand how something like that would not happen with universal health care for the rest of the country if it's already happening with veterans.
One thing you say on your campaign platform is you'd like to lower taxes. Does that mean fewer government services? Does that mean telling some people no? Or how do you lower taxes in this climate when we have a deficit that high?
Well, it may well mean that there are some things that people are going to have to do without.
Any examples?
Off the top of my head, actually, no. I haven't researched it that far, but there are many, many duplicated services within other, the many bureaucracies in Washington, D.C., where there's one department that's doing the same thing as another one, and those could all be lumped together, and we don't have to have the duplicated services where the bureaucracies that go along with those duplications are where the cost comes in. So there's plenty we can do to lower taxes.
Do you want to get rid of departments like the Energy Department, the Education Department?
As a matter of fact, I do, yes. The Department of Energy doesn't do anything but regulate energy and make it more expensive for the rest of us. The same with the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Education. What they are doing in the Department of Education is making it more difficult for teachers to teach. They spend more time complying with government regulations than they do teaching. I've talked to several teachers about this, and if there's one complaint that they have, that's it.
11 million people, that's the estimate, are here illegally. Do they deserve a path to citizenship?
Well, they deserve something. I would go along with legal residency, but I think that giving them citizenship would be amnesty, and I am not in favor of amnesty. We do need to do something for the children of immigrants that came here when they were too young to make a decision, that are now adults or in school.
Right.
And so provisions need to be made for them as well. But we have to weed out the criminals, we have to secure the border, and I don't believe in amnesty, so I don't think that we would get anything beyond legal residency for the people who are currently here illegally.
Well, as you were and just alluded to, we are seeing a flood, thousands of children coming from Honduras and Guatemala, crossing the border in the western part of the nation. They're as young as 6 and 4 years old. When you say some provision should be made for them, what do you mean?
Well, this is something that is entirely new to see these children coming across the border. It's only happened in the last week or so that I'm aware of. And it's a difficult thing. What do you do with children? There's no parents that you can't take them back to the border and say, here's your child. So what do you do with them? Frankly, at this point, I really don't know, but it's something that needs to be addressed, and part of that would have to be stopping the flow by securing the border.
Some Democrats want a constitutional amendment that would overturn the Citizens United ruling. Is the campaign finance system broke?
From what I understand of the Citizens United ruling, what that does is actually levels the playing field. Prior to the decision, union interests had plenty of influence politically, whereas private enterprise really didn't have a voice in the process. And what the Citizens United decision did was give them that voice. So to overturn Citizens United would be to take that voice away from private enterprise and give the unions free rein. And that's completely unfair. The private enterprise needs to have a voice in the process as well.
Does someone like you, though, have the ability to raise enough money to mount a challenge, both in a primary and now in a general election, against someone like Gwen Moore, who's been serving in Congress for a number of terms and can raise X number of millions of dollars?
Well, it's difficult to say the least. If you take a look in previous elections, as far as money that was raised from within the district, we pretty much matched Gwen Moore dollar for dollar, but most of her campaign finance comes from outside the district, from special interest groups. And you can ask Eric Cantor if money votes or not. He spent more money in steakhouses than his opponent spent on his entire campaign, and he lost big. So it's entirely possible. Going back to the last midterm election, I spent about $50,000 on that election, and I did better in that election than anyone ever has against Gwen Moore for any office she's ever held as an incumbent. So it's possible.
Are there any ramifications from the Eric Cantor loss for your race, Dan? Any messages that you're reading?
Certainly there's a message there about immigration reform and incumbents in general. I think the message there is, you better start listening to us. You work for us, so you need to pay attention.
I'm asking all candidates this because it's such a timely issue. What's your reaction to Judge Crabb's ruling on same-sex marriages? It's also an issue, as you know, nationally. Your reaction?
Now, and it's, again, it's a very complicated issue. My concern is right now all of the couples that rushed to get married in that little tiny window that they had, is their marriage now going to be legal? Is it going to be recognized nationwide? You know, all the benefits that go along with a civil union or marriage for heterosexual couples. Mm-hmm. Now, those couples deserve that recognition too. They deserve those safeguards. I have friends that have been together for 20 years and they stood in that line on Friday night and they got married, and I'm concerned now, will their marriage be legal? So it's a very complicated thing, and you know, it's difficult to know, you know, what to tell people.
What's your personal opinion? Do you think friends like you have, who have been together a long time, have a right to legally marry?
I do.
You do. Okay. International terrorism. If you're a member of Congress, you're going to be asked about international issues. The lessons of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the danger of Iraq. When should America put, to use that old trite phrase, boots on the ground to fight international terrorism?
Well, you know what? I think Ronald Reagan had it right. There's peace through strength. And I think George Bush was right when he said we need to take the fight to them before they bring it to us. And at the same time, you need to fight to win or not go at all. I would think that we would have learned the last time around in Afghanistan when we went to help them, when the Soviet Union was invading, that you can't win. You can't win in Afghanistan, so why go? But we're there, we need to fight to win and meet the enemy on their own territory.
If you're serving in Congress right now, you're going to be asked about Iraq. The president is weighing airstrikes and putting some more a few hundred American soldiers in Iraq. Your answer? Should we do either of those?
My personal opinion right now is no. He's trying to put a genie back in the bottle. We're fighting thousands of years of culture, trying to bring a democracy to a culture that hasn't had a democracy ever that I'm aware of, and we're trying to change that essentially overnight, although it's not actually overnight, but it's too much too soon, and we can't put that genie back in the bottle. We need to let that play out.
Was the exchange of 5 Taliban terrorists for 1 U.S. soldier a fair deal?
That was absolutely, positively wrong.
Why?
That man was no longer a soldier in my eyes. When he laid down his arms and walked away from his post, he became a deserter. There is no way on God's green earth that I would consent to trading a deserter for 5 of anybody, let alone 5 of the worst from the Taliban or wherever. That was beyond wrong, and I am furious that that happened.
Question on energy policy. Do you support the Keystone Pipeline?
Absolutely.
Why?
Well, for starters, I am personally aware of at least 2 pipeline companies right here in the city of Milwaukee that are waiting to double their workforce to supply the pipe for that pipeline, or at least some of the pipe for that pipeline. That means truck drivers, that means people working in the factories making that pipe, that means all of the stuff that goes along with that. There is so much benefit to be made, not just the lowering of gas prices. It's going to put people back to work, a lot of people, right here in the 4th District, and it's going to last a long time.
We're talking because you have a primary on August 12th. Do you think the fact that Gwen Moore has a primary challenger in Gary George, does that help or hurt you?
I think that helps me. It brings the race to the forefront. The media is already talking about it, although they have barely mentioned that there are Republicans in the race and that there's a primary on the Republican side as well, but they have mentioned it. It's been years since the media paid attention to the race except on Election Day. So it can't hurt, and it certainly, I believe, does help.
Okay. I want to give you a chance to talk about any other major issues that are part of your Cambrai primary campaign that I haven't asked about. Anything else you want to mention?
Well, you know, you've got it pretty well covered. We're very basic. We're very conservative. I moderate on some of the social issues, but by and large, I'm a very conservative candidate, and it's very easy to tell where I stand. Issues. I'm opposed to Common Core in our school systems. That is something else, again, that is preventing teachers from actually doing their job. They don't have any say in the curriculum at all, and you know, we need to get rid of that. Other than that, I think we've got it pretty well covered.
Are you a Tea Party candidate, or is that a meaningless term now?
At this point, I don't know that that carries any weight.
Okay.
It may and it may not, but you know, certainly my roots are there, and I have many, many friends that are active in Tea Party concerns, and they support me and I support them. Okay. But then again, I'm an officer in the Republican Party in Milwaukee County, and I have been for over 5 years. There are certain people that would view me as the Republican candidate as opposed to the Tea Party candidate.
Okay, and then finally, I want to give you a chance, if you choose to highlight any differences between you and your primary opponent.
Well, I'm a nuts and bolts kind of guy. I like to get hands-on. I'm going to bring a businessman's perspective to the table because I own a business, so I know how what government can do or not do to help or hamper business. And again, I'm a Navy veteran. I served on the Chief of Naval Operations and Intelligence Staff at the Pentagon during the Reagan administration, and I know how government works. I know what it takes to get things done. And I'm the first vice chairman of the Republican Party in Milwaukee County South Branch, and I've been active in the party for quite some time. My primary opponent, I know that he's a pastor on the north side. He's a good man. He has the best of intentions. I know that he works in the community organizing job seekers with employers. And I know that in the past he has run for statewide offices. He's run for Secretary of State in the last gubernatorial election, and he ran for state senate, I believe, in the last election.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you. Dan Sebring of Milwaukee is a Republican candidate in the 4th Congressional District. The primary is August 12th. Dan, thanks for talking to Wisconsin Eye.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
You bet.